Hey gamers, today we're going to look at the board game Alea Iacta Est. Let's check it out. To set up the game, each player is going to get 8 dice of their color. First player will get the first player token. You're going to put out the boards here. Now, the game is a little bit different for a 2-player game. Also, this section here scales for 3, 4, 5 players. You would just take off one of these columns here and scale it. The instruction book tells you where to go. But anyway, you'll shuffle these tiles here, place them up face up to as many columns as there are here. Again, this determines on how many players are in the game. You have your little latrine right here, which shows people pooping in there, which is probably one of the best things in this game. You're going to put some reroll tokens next to that. By the templum, you're going to have these little bonus tokens here. The Senate is going to have these tiles here, and the castrum is going to have these provinces here, and you're going to put out as many as there are players in the game. On a turn, it is very simple. All players will roll all the dice in their hand, and then they're going to place these dice on one of these 5 areas here. Yes, even the latrine is an area they can place die on. At the castrum, they want to place some of the same numbers. So it could be just 1, or maybe I had 2 5s, I put 5s there. Now, if I was the first player to go, since I had the first player token, no one else can put 5s there. Someone else could put 2s there, you know, or someone else could put 1s there, you know, or 4s, I should say. And whoever has the longest stretch of 1s, so let's say they had 5s, but they had 3 4s. Well, 3 4s would beat out anything. And of course, if someone had 6s going on, you can do another row here, but he would need to have 3 6s to beat the 3 4s here. But you can't have the same number as another player on this one. And what this is, in the turn order, whoever goes first here, which in this case would be gray, since they had the most here, they would pick one of these provinces. These provinces later on come into the game. You're going to pair them up with male and females from over here, these tiles over here, to score them. I'll talk about more of that in the in-game scoring. But then it would go to second place, which in this case would be blue, since 2 6s beat 2 5s, and then green would go third, getting the third one. And if there was another player who put one there, they would get stuck with the last one. Over at the Senate, you're trying to get consecutive scoring here. So for instance, green could put a 2 3 4, or blue could put a 4 5 6, like that. And of course, whoever has the longest one here, and this is for only, and let's say there was the third player got, gray player got a 5 and a 6, could not get anything farther here. Well, it's only the top 2 players would get these tiles. For instance, a 4, 5, and 6 beats a 2, 3, and 4. Now, if green would have played a 1 there, they would have won because they would have a longer consecutive streak on the die. Whoever's first place here, they get to take the top 3 tiles and they get to look at them. It's 4 there, but you get 3 there. Now, the rules will tell you what each one of these do. These are game ending points, but after you play it a few times, you'll know what each one of these mean. But anyway, so you'll look at all 3, you'll get to pick 1. Second place just takes the top one from the stack and puts it in their corner. Now, these may not seem like many points, but at the end, they definitely build up. At the templum here, basically it's very simple. The first person would place a 3 there. The second person would have to place 2 die there that could beat that 3. So for instance, let's say gray player played a 5 there. Now, green player, when they played here, I forgot to mention, they would take one of these tokens. Gray player, since they played 2 die and was larger than that one, they would take 2 tokens. Let's say blue played next, and they had to pay 3, so they paid 3 there, and they would take 3 tokens. So at the end of the round, once everyone has placed out all their die there on the temple, blue player gets to look at their 3 tokens, and they get to pick 2 of them. And these come in ranges of 1, 2, and 3. So he would obviously take these 2 3s and discard the 2. Whereas every other player would only get to choose 1. So gray had 2 of them, they would just choose 1. They choose the 2, and green would be stuck with this one, which is a 3, so not so bad. But that's how the templum works. Over here in this area, what players are going to do, they're going to place either 1 or 2 die. 2 die if they equal or less than 5. So for instance, let's say the gray player played here first, then the next player played in, and they would just bump the next two. A 2 and a 3 would beat that. If you rolled the same number as someone else, let's say the blue player rolled a 2, well then they would bump this 2 out and bump everything down. As you see, things would go down. Now again, in a 2-player game, this would be a lot shorter, and there's a few different rules here, but let's say it just ended up, blue placed there, and as you keep going, let me just shorten it up here and say this here, and I just shorten it up 1, and let's say the next player, gray, played here, boom, 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 knocks them off, and if there was one more knockoff, so let's say the 1 here was played by green, he would knock this one into the latrine. Whoever, so this is consistently going on. Whoever is one of the last spot, if someone else plays a die there of any type, so the 6 would go in here and then bump everything down and put another one in the latrine. Or sometimes players don't have anything to do with their extra die, and they may just go ahead and put it in the latrine. The latrine means however many dice are at the end of the round, gray would get 1 reroll token, and blue would get 2 reroll tokens. Now these reroll tokens allow you to reroll one or all of your die, or some of your die, during the game, which is very important. A lot of times you will need reroll tokens, which is why sometimes you'll just place a die there anyway to get something out of it. But in this scenario here, green would pick first of any one of these tiles. Once they chose, then they would remove, let's say they picked this purple one, then blue would get to pick one, and they pick this one, and then gray would pick this one, and then green would get the other 3 because they're right here. And that's how it would work. Now you're going to pair these tiles to these provinces up here, and this is how you're going to get bonus points at the end of the game. So for instance, you have to have a male and female that match the color of that province. And how to count up those points at the end of the game, you just look at the Roman numeral. This is worth 1, 2, 3, 4 points. This by itself worth nothing. These by itself worth nothing unless you have cards that say something differently. But for every male-female pairing, you can make some big points. And as you see, these come in points of 1, 2, and 3, and these go up to points of 4 even. So, but I couldn't put 2 females in the same one. One of those would have to be male. I couldn't score that. So that's how it's going to be. The scoring at the end of the game ends when you run out of these tiles or you run out of provinces. After that, everyone counts up those little scoring gems, any little in-game scoring points they have, and of course any of these bonus tokens using the actual Roman numeral as the number of victory points, and whoever has the most points wins. Final thoughts, what do I think about the game? Well, I may have gotten the title wrong because I don't know how to pronounce this. But anyway, this is a fun little filler game for dice. Think Las Vegas, but with maybe a little bit more strategy involved. That's what I thought when I first played it at BGG Spring Con last year. I enjoyed the game. I was like, okay, it's a nice filler game. So if you find it for $5 or $10, which I did, you should definitely pick it up. I think it's nice just for a filler game. Again, it's a step above Vegas, where you're rolling dice, and if you don't know that, I have a review out. A billion people have a review out for that game. It is a fun yet simple game. This falls into that exact same category with a different theme. I do think the latrine is funny. My nephew's got the biggest kick out of it because of the picture of the people just sitting on porta potties. I mean, or in the bathroom, just sharing bathrooms together. My board game group enjoys it too. Like I said, a nice filler game if you're in the mood for one. All right, folks, that is all the time I have for now. Until next time, you know what to do. Get that name right.